Alhamdulillah, assalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah, wa ba'd fa'a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Mentioned to you before that belief in the Day of Judgment is a fundamental belief of the Muslims. It's part of our articles of belief, articles of faith, that we believe in the Day of Judgment, we believe in the hereafter, we believe in the resurrection. So if I just briefly mention, I wasn't planning to, but if I just briefly mention, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala initially, when He created our souls, He placed them in a place called Alamul Arwah, the world of the spirits. Then, turn by turn, the person moved from the world of the spirits to this world. And 120 days into the pregnancy of our mothers, our soul was put into was the fetus. About 17 weeks and a few days. And a lot of people who observed and noticed the movement in the womb changes at that time, because now the fetus is not just flesh, it also has a spirit. It's what we call the human being now. The soul goes into the body. Then the person is like in a world themselves, in there, the babies in a world themselves. They would never have imagined the outside world being in the world of the womb, because they don't know anything outside. That's just their world for them, that bubble that they're in. Then you come into this world, what we call life. After this, you have death. Now, what was life initially? The spirit going into the body. Was death the spirit coming out of the body? The spirit doesn't die. Spirit lives on. So then you have the world of Alam al-Barzakh. This is Alam al-Dunya, the world of the realm of the world. Alam al-Barzakh is the life that's basically between death and the hereafter. That's the intermediary realm is called. And that's the life of the grave. That's Alam al-Barzakh. After Alam al-Barzakh, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will resurrect us. And Allah Almighty mentions in the Quran that the earth will spit out its burden. Literally, people come bursting out of their graves. People will be gathered. Not people will gather. People will be gathered, involuntary on their part. They will be made to go in one direction, not wander here and there. They will be gathered in one place. Earth will be flattened out, one plane. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will establish the Day of Judgment. Allah Almighty says regarding the Day of Judgment, يَوْمَ تَشْهَدُ عَلَيْهِمْ أَلْسِنَتُهُمْ وَأَيْدِيهِمْ وَأَرْجُلُهُمْ بِمَا كَانُوا يَعْمَلُونَ. On that day, their tongues, their hands, and their feet will bear witness against them as to what they used to do. And usually you look for witnesses. Something happens, a crime happens, what do police say? Any witnesses? Witness statements, right? First-hand witnesses or eyewitness is a big thing. Look, if an eyewitness is a big thing, somebody else sees something happen and that person is classed as an eyewitness, and in court an eyewitness has a higher level of credibility, as opposed to someone told me this happened, for example. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not even mentioning eyewitness here. He's saying you are going to witness against yourself. How are you supposed, how is the tongue going to miss anything? When you use the tongue to do that particular act, how are the hands going to miss anything? When they will say, Allah, He used me for this. The feet will say, Allah, He used me for this. I had no choice. I had to submit to Him because you've given me to Him to use, and He's used me. He misused me. So Allah Almighty is saying that on that day, the tongues will testify. When the tongue testifies, what's a person going to do? You can't argue against that because it's your tongue testifying against you. It's like a self-confession, isn't it? And again, self-confession is very strong, because once someone self-confessed, then it's clear that there's been no duress or any type of torture or anything. Self-confession is very, very clear. This is why when the police caution the person when they arrest them, they say that anything you do say may be given in evidence, because you could end up incriminating yourself by saying something now, and if you do, we'll use that against you. So that's why they give the police caution. So Allah Almighty here is saying that the limbs, basically the tongue, the hands, the feet, will testify against them with regards to what they used to do. But the interesting point here is that they're not only gonna speak against you, they'll speak for you as well. It all depends on how you've used the limbs. Like absolutely your feet will testify that you used to go to the masjid, you used to come for Taraweeh, your tongue will testify you used to read Quran. Your hands will testify they used to hold the Quran. Your hands will testify they used to give charity. It goes both ways. You know, in the Quran, whenever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions paradise, He mentions hellfire. Whenever He mentions punishment, He mentions reward. Very balanced message that our Lord and Creator gives us. He doesn't want to punish us. He wants to reward us, but He knows that insan needs both incentive of reward and also warning of punishment. So Allah Almighty is saying that this is what the bodily parts will do, that they'll testify. And we want our tongues and our hands and our feet to testify in our favor on the Day of Judgment. To say, Allah, you gifted him with us and he used us. And ultimately, the tongue and the hands and the feet, these are just tools which can be used or abused. Allah wants them to be used for His obedience. And you get some people who use them and some people that abuse them. On that day, it's going to be a very, very difficult day. Words can't describe how difficult it'll be. You know, now when you have a problem, you go running to your friend, you go running to your mum, you go running to your dad. That day, you'll be running away from everyone. Quran mentions a man's going to run away from his mother, father, his brother who he's chill out with, his brother who he used to go on missions with, his brother that he's grown up with. On that day, every man for themselves today. And the Quran also mentions that they will run away from their wives. Oh, the वैसे happen as well. वैसे people run away from their wives as well, but that will happen the Day of Judgment too. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to understand how we use our tongue, hands, our feet, and that they testify for us in the Day of Judgment and make a strong case in our favor, which leads to our salvation. Wa akhiru da'wahum alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Now.